I really don't like talking about these topics because they either make me want to cry or just get me really angry. But I think it's come to the point where I think I needed to address it to you in a longer type of way, and I think this way you guys will understand what I've been through and some things that I think I need to tell some of you guys that don't know what it's like. Divorce. The legal dissolution of a marriage by a court or other competent body. It sucks. I had to go through a wild, dark time of my life, and my parents got a divorce. My parents got separated when I was 6 years old. My sister was 3. I knew things were going on in my family. I knew that things weren't the same, and in my 6-year-old brain I was clueless, but at the same time I was intelligent. I knew that things weren't the same. I can't necessarily pick up on anything that really happened below the age of 6 between my parents because they were barely together, and that's how I knew that something was wrong. Also, things at home were never the same. Whenever my mom would be up in bed, my dad would be downstairs watching TV. Whenever my mom would get out of bed in the morning, my dad would go to bed. My dad would never eat with us on Sunday mornings. I would barely see him. If I was lucky, I would see him on a Saturday morning, getting dressed for work, taking a shower, and going out the door before we leave, me and my sister running up to him and him spraying some of his cologne on us. I knew that day when my parents called me down that it wasn't good. I knew that my parents had to tell me something. I knew that because one of them was on each of the couches and they put me right in the middle, that I knew this was gonna affect me for the rest of my life. At the moment, I knew what was gonna happen. I was being denial of it. I was at a loss of words, and I didn't know how to cope with it. I wanted to be quiet till they were done talking to me so I can go up to my room and just ask myself those questions and just cry. It sucks. It sucks to know that you're no longer gonna have the family that you used to have. That now things are gonna be different and your parents don't love each other anymore, or they just don't get along. I was lucky enough to have parents that were very caring of my sister and I, where they didn't want to fight or they didn't want to argue in front of us because they know that would have affected us in school and in other ways. They kind of left the arguing to themselves, but I would remember at 12 o'clock at night, I would hear TVs going on, crying, yelling, whispering, just a whole lot of things that kept me up the whole night. The times that I saw my parents argue really got me to the point where I was used to it, that there has to be a breaking point where they're just gonna call it off, and they did. Ever since that night that they told me that mommy and daddy no longer love each other, they no longer want to be together, and my dad's gonna move out, at the point I'm like, okay, a couple months, a couple years later, I'm like, this is how my life is gonna be now. It took me a long time to get over that my parents, that's no longer gonna be anything, just a fantasy. I knew that now, every other weekend, I would only see my father. At the time, I didn't even want to look at him, talk to him, or necessarily talk to anyone at his side of the family because I thought my dad left us, my dad didn't like my mother anymore or love her, he wanted to leave. That was what my 6-year-old mind was thinking. Now, I look back and I know it wasn't just my dad's fault. It was a mutual thing between my parents. But ever since that happened, I got depressed. That's when anxiety happened for me. And I've come to realize that I will have anxiety for the rest of my life. I've learned how to contain it, but it's not going anywhere. It'll come back, but it's never going away permanently. And also with depression. And I'm not gonna lie, there's been rough times in the past where I don't want to talk about it necessarily because I think that's just a little bit too personal. I had to go to therapy for 2 years. In 2nd grade I had to go. I never wanted to see my father. I would throw tantrums because if I went with my father, I thought I was going to do something. I thought that whenever it was a Friday in school that I knew that in a couple of hours I would have to go to my dad. For one of the worst Fridays that I've ever had. I didn't want to face my father. I didn't want to think of going to his house and being there with him for 3 straight days and not seeing my mother. I was attached to my mother like I was part of the womb again. It came to the point where I was so obsessive with my mother that she had to take me to therapy again. Focus on ways on when I miss my mother, how I can think of other things to do besides thinking about her. So I made a box. I made a box of things that I would have to do so I wouldn't think of my mother. 5th grade, that's where it rose again. That's when I had to go to therapy again. Now I don't even want to think about going back. All that therapy has given me are bad memories. Bad memories of my mother and father, bad memories on how mentally sick I was, how I didn't know how to solve my own problems without going to a place to get help. I've been trying to be independent and try to solve my own problems, or just push them to the side until it comes to a big mountain of problems where it's gotten to the point where I've been so sick and tired of hearing people say that they want their parents to get a divorce or their parents are not doing well. Don't take your family for granted, because if you ask me, I have no idea what a real family feels like, looks like. I don't know what any of that is. I look at my friends and I'm like, wow, their family is so happy. They're so good. What does that feel like? I don't remember what that feels like. Even though my mom does have a boyfriend currently right now, she's been with him. I'm very happy for my mother now, and I'm happy that she's happy. It never really feels the same, because I've always had the fantasy that my mom and my dad would get back together. It's not gonna happen. But I know they care about me and my sister. For anyone out there saying that they want their families to get a divorce, just know that if you know someone that has their parents divorced, please don't say that to their face. It feels like a wrecking ball just hit them in the heart, because they have no idea how it feels like. For anyone saying that their parents are not getting along and they're thinking about getting divorced, just hurts me in a way, because then I'm gonna know that my friends or someone I know is going to have to go through the pain that I had to go through. Maybe worse, maybe less, but I know it's not a pain you want to feel. There's actually some good things that came out of this divorce. I've learned that everything happens for a reason. I've learned how to be independent. I've learned how to cope with many scenarios and situations that I never thought I would be able to cope with before. I've learned how to deal with anxiety somewhat. I know that my parents now are happy, and I know they did it for the better. And I know over and over again, my parents always said to me, they never did that to hurt me or my sister. And I remember when I was little, I would say, why didn't you and daddy get a divorce before I was even born? Because at the time, it was so hard for me, so hard to go through that. I saw my friends going on vacations with their parents and always being around them, and knowing that I only see my dad every other weekend, and knowing that my grandma and grandpa are divorced, so I never see my grandpa, and my godmother and my godfather. My godmother that I haven't seen, and because I've had to deal with many divorces in the past, I've kind of gotten used to it, but it feels like parts of my heart have been broken in so many different places where I don't even know how to patch them up anymore. And it's gotten to the point where I've accepted and moved on from these situations, but they'll never be forgotten. And I'm not doing this video to try to get attention, but I want people to know that I am not always happy. Even if I put a smile on my face before I even put on a video for you guys, I am not the happiest person in the world. And I've had situations in the past where I've had to deal with, and they weren't the easiest. I just want you to know that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to sometimes feel upset or angry or confused or guilty. It's okay. I know that people go through situations and problems of their own. One thing that I want you guys to take out of this video, don't take your family for granted. As my parents and myself have been upset, I've never felt so close with my father and my mother. Even though I know I have to go through this for the rest of my life, I will make sure when I am older, and if I fall in love with someone, that if I fall in love with that person, I will make sure that that will be the person that I want to be with for the rest of my life till the day I die. Because if I have children one day, I know I'm 13, but I'm just saying, if I have children one day and I'm married to someone, I want to make sure it's the right person, so my kids one day won't have to go through the things that I had to go through as a child, because I don't want any child to go through that, because I know how hurtful it is. I just want to put that out there. Guys, please love your family. Please don't take that for granted. That's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and took something out of it. If you guys liked it, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you guys in my next video.